The most important qualification for any leader is not wanting to be leader. This is a quote from the movie The Two Popes, which tells the story of how the friendship of Pope Benedict XVI and Pope Francis formed and how the Catholic Church transitioned from having a leader with a conservative view to having a leader with a tolerant view. Hello everyone, my name is Maria and today I'd like to present to you the leader I admire the most, Jose Mario Bergoglio, also known as Pope Francis. He is the 266th Pope and current leader of the Catholic Church, the church where I am one of its members. Pope Francis did not want to become the leader of the Catholic Church. In fact, he wanted to retire from his role as a bishop, but Pope Benedict XVI invited him to come to Vatican and have a conversation with him. And that was the beginning of Pope Francis' journey to becoming the leader of the Catholic Church. Pope Francis did not want to become a leader because he didn't believe that he can change the church. But Pope Benedict XVI saw that his potential attributes and beliefs can manage the church's approach to its members. And I'm telling you, as a member of the Catholic Church, ever since Pope Francis became the leader of the church, we saw and felt the changes he made. The church became more open, non judgmental, and understanding, which I consider good for the church, its members, as well as non members. Here is a quick overview of the points that I'm going to cover in this presentation. So first is, why do we want to know about this leader? Second, what do we want to know about this leader? And third, what do I intend to do to imitate this leader? Let us formally begin the presentation with the first topic, which is, why do we want to know about this leader? So, in my view, his role is not just about leading the Catholic Church. He is also one of the global leaders that try to make a difference and make the world a better place. That is why it is one of his duties to meet and have a conversation with other global leaders, like the presidents of different nations. Therefore, it will be great for us to know how this leader acts, his leadership style, and maybe get some ideas from him on how to effectively lead people. Now, let's talk about the attributes of this leader, starting with his self awareness. One of the attributes that help the Pope lead the Catholic Church effectively is self awareness. He knows what his personality is like and his interests. Basically, he knows himself very well. And we know that having self awareness or knowing who you truly are is important when you want to become a leader. Because if you don't understand or know what's your personality or how you control your emotions, then you cannot help others to understand themselves. Aside from being self aware, Pope Francis leads with humility. This is the attribute where he really stands out. When he was introduced to the crowd as the new Pope last 2013, he was only wearing a simple and plain white cassock and a simple silver cross instead of the traditional vestments of the Pope. His signet ring is also silver instead of the usual one, which is made of gold. He only wears worn out shoes instead of the papal red slippers. He is also known to make his own phone calls instead of asking the staff to do that. So his simplicity is not just because he wants to live a simple life, but it is also one of his ways to show the world that the church under his leadership will be simpler, humbler, and closer to the poor. Pope Francis' leadership style is servant leadership. He is passionate about influencing people to make a difference in the world by serving others. He never desired power. This leader focuses on helping the poor or needy, and one of his main missions is to relieve suffering for the underprivileged. His mission is the one that inspired him to accept the role of a pope and the one that motivates him to continue leading the church until to this day. Now let's proceed to the next topic, which is what do we want to know about this leader? So, we want to know first, how does Pope Francis lead the Catholic Church in the modern world? The Pope is known as an incremental radical, which means he is aware that he cannot change the Church and all nations simultaneously and quickly. Therefore, he tries to make the change happen in a slow manner with careful steps and considerations. One example is supporting gay civil unions instead of legalizing gay marriages in the church, and allowing women to become deacons who can perform some duties of priests instead of ordaining them as priests. For me, this approach is effective for the church because he shows support to both sides. What I mean by sides is the people or members that have conservative views and the people who have tolerant views. So, being incremental radical enabled Pope Francis to show to the people that the church accepts everyone. Now, let's talk about how Pope Francis communicates effectively. So, the Pope is adaptive in communicating with people. When he conducted his papal visits in several countries, he met a lot of people through the Pope Mobile. Also, he utilizes social media platforms like Instagram to spread his message. I remember the time he visited the Philippines last 2015. His visit made a lot of Filipinos happy and feel connected with him. This leader also visited Tacloban City, the city in the Philippines that was hit by a super typhoon named Yolanda. That super typhoon was the most powerful storm recorded in the country and left 7,350 people dead or missing. 1 year later, Tacloban City is still struggling to recover, and that was one of the reasons why Pope Francis visited the Philippines so that he can also visit Tacloban and give the comfort they need. His visit to that city was so touching because a lot of the typhoon survivors gained renewed hope and they felt so seen. Seeing the Pope personally is a big deal for us Catholics because we consider the Pope as the person or a mortal who is closest to God. So we really look forward on getting a blessing from him, and that's why the typhoon survivors felt so happy to see him personally and attend the mass he conducted. Now, let's talk about how the leader gained the title the People's Pope. Being incremental radical, showing simplicity, having a good communication, and connecting with others is how the leader gained the title the People's Pope. His courage in expressing his voice or opinion about controversial issues and showing to people his interest and personality made a lot of people feel that the Pope is just like them and he understands the opinion of people. Now, I would like to talk about what do I intend to do to imitate this leader. So, I chose three actions of Pope Francis that I'd like to imitate so I can become a great and effective leader once I get a leader position in the future, whether in school or work. So, first is to lead with humility because being humble prevents me from being arrogant and taking my desires too seriously. I believe humility in leadership is so important because it enables you to see and understand others clearly. Also, showing humility makes you look more approachable, and that is good because as a leader your members should feel comfortable approaching you. The second one I'd like to imitate is how the Pope connects with others. Having a conversation with other people, guiding them, giving comfort, and anything that will make them feel that you are present is also important when you lead. I believe connecting with others develops strong relationships and builds trust. And we know that leaders should gain trust because this will help them accomplish their mission. And the last action of the Pope that I'd like to follow is to lead with courage. Having or building courage is something that I'm currently working on because I feel like in the past years, I have always shown passive behavior. So, to become an effective leader, I must learn how to have the courage to express my thoughts and voice out my opinion like what Pope Francis does. And now I'd like to end my presentation with a simple conclusion. So, being a leader like Pope Francis comes with great responsibility, and that is to make a difference by serving others. As an aspiring leader, my plan is to follow Pope Francis' approach, which is servant leadership, because I believe in the concept of altruism and in the idea that no one lives for himself alone. And here are the references I used for this presentation. I hope you learned something and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you for listening.